we've been on a bit of a journey.
We have been on a journey, a really way back journey.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2 weeks, but it's been a month. We've been on this Xfce thing for a month.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's been a good ride. It's been a good ride. I got some thoughts we'll share later.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to test a few things simultaneously, which was great. I love multitasking.
Right, yeah. I love multitasking when it doesn't take extra time to do, to do it. You just kill two birds with one stone. I really appreciate that.
I might have got 3, so that's pretty cool.
What? Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot of content. But I want to talk just really quickly about why we ended up on Xfce, because if you do the Wikipedia searching, you're going to find that when we did the text editors, the terminal text editors,
right.
We kind of went in chronological order.
We tried. I think we got it pretty close.
Yeah, and I think with desktop environments, we kind of wanted to do that too, but we chose Xfce because it was the successor in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it dovetails right into CDE, right?
Yeah. So, and when you make a connection like that, you just can't say no. But when you look at the actual time frame of when things actually released, you see that KDE had at least their first alpha out before Xfce, but Xfce was released before, at the time, GNOME was released. And for those of you that don't know, that it's just GNOME now. It's a little guy that hangs out in your garden with the red hat.
Yeah, that guy. But in all honesty, it was a very rapid pace for all of those. They all kind of came about within a few years of each other. And
not within a year. Like KDE released, Xfce released, and then like less than a year goes by, and GNOME 1.
The landscape drastically changed, and things got really stable in some of those. Like they came out, they were really rough, probably around the edges.
Yeah,
and then they stabilized, and that's when it was like almost simultaneously for all 3 of them, really.
Yeah. Stick around for the history, because we actually talk a little bit about that. And one thing that didn't actually make it into the history, so I'm not really spoiling anything here, is that apparently, right when Miguel de Icaza was trying to put GNOME together, he needed a panel. And who do you think he tapped for that at the beginning?
Borrowed someone?
Yeah, well, it didn't actually come to fruition, but one of the options that GNOME had for a panel was Olivier's Xfce panel. I don't know if it was licensing or not, because licensing does come up. I don't know if that was the reason why that didn't go through, but I think it was more that Olivier didn't have a whole lot of experience with what GNOME was trying to put together, and so it just kind of broke down. But what was the coolest thing, I think, about that whole entire situation was that Xfce, for a brief moment in time, a little blip, there was a chance that Xfce may not have existed and could have just been vacuumed up into a wider GNOME desktop.
Yeah.
And GNOME may have been, maybe in an alternate universe.
Just something totally different, yeah.
Yeah, is a totally different desktop in that universe. But that's not our universe.
Nope.
So
no. And now obviously things are completely different. I mean, the cavern grows and things, widen apart from each other as time goes on.
Yeah, and those 3 desktops couldn't be any more different from each other, because, I mean...
There's few similarities. There's a few, but for the most part, it's pretty different.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, different... Well, not frameworks anymore. Xfce and GNOME are both GTK, and Plasma was...
it's cute.
Cute, yeah. But that wasn't how it started. So, anyway...
Yeah.
More on that in the history. So if you're watching this as a single on YouTube, that'll be released shortly. But until then, hang tight.
Yeah.
But speaking of until then, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the questions. So something that we've that I've wanted to do for a long time is reach out more to people that are involved in the project, especially in its founding, because we're big on history.
Yeah,
obviously.
absolutely.
And anybody that was involved in the founding, I'd like to talk to, and that's something that we spent a little time doing in the background. And so we got in touch with Olivier and asked him a couple of questions.
Yeah, and I think we had it's a unique opportunity because, like, when you think about it, this started a long time ago, and to find like any project that lasts as long as this one has, it's sometimes hard to find the people that were originally involved and still have them be somewhat involved even, or as involved as they are. It's amazing to me. And so there's I'll just point out there's a few other projects that maybe have some people that have been stalwarts, if you will, of things. When you think like Slackware and Patrick Volkerding, who's still at the helm of that and still heavily involved into that, and
respect,
Alien Bob right along his side, right there with him
from the beginning.
The beginning.
Wow.
I mean, so there's an example of long lasting people that have been around for a long time. And this is like no different to me. Olivier Fourdan is right there. Maybe not doing every commit, and certainly not as deep into it as he once was, maybe, but right there, involved heavily.
That's the thing. So Olivier Fourdan is still involved in the window manager for Xfce. Mm-hmm. So XFWM he's still involved in that. And I haven't done the research, so I don't know yet. But how involved is Matthias Ettrick in KDE and Plasma, and how involved is Miguel de Icaza in GNOME?
We're going to find out.
I don't know.
We're going to find out. Yeah. So
and stay tuned.
But it's just great to be able to reach out to someone that's still around.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's ever been a more down to earth developer of something that is this big, I've never found him. So it's just been such a treat to talk to him. So anyway, I want to get into the questions. There was something that I saw that came up a lot.
Yeah, a few times.
Wikipedia specifically mentions that it was Slackware that coined it, but it showed up before Slackware ever packaged it. And that shows up in the history, but so I don't think Slackware created this one. So I had to ask, what is the origin of the cholesterol-free desktop environment name?
I guess it's probably me who came up with this, although I cannot guarantee this, as I do not remember for sure. If anything, that was intended as a joke. Cholesterol-free diets were trendy at the time.
Yeah.
And smiley emoji on that too, yeah.
Yes. Oh, and that's one of my favorite things about the interaction with him is that man, if that wasn't one of the most 90s things that I've seen in a long time. And I love it though.
It's a great answer. It's a great time, yeah.
I was getting into the internet at the time, and that culture really permeated, and way before emojis ever existed. This is the way that we ascribed emotion to a form of communication that is devoid of it.
Yeah, text is just letters.
Yeah, it is emotionless until you add a smiley face.
Yeah, that seals the deal, doesn't it?
You do a greater than colon close parenthesis, and now you're angry, right? Mm-hmm. So ASCII was such a wonderful way to ascribe intent to any kind of writing or anything like that. But anyway, the cholesterol-free desktop environment though showed up early on in 2.0.2, and the first time I ever saw it in anything that I ever looked up was Olivier saying it.
Yeah. So, it was in right in the release notes, and I found, like we both did, we found it in several different release notes, right at the top.
Yep, it did continue on, and I think Slackware adopted it
probably
because
Slackware. It's same sort of thing in the change logs when you read through Slackware, right?
I mean, the whole pasture thing. Like, I will never forget Slackware doing the pasture thing. When packages are old and we're getting them out of Slackware, but they're, not ready to be gone just yet, they go out to pasture. So there's a directory called pasture that you put that. So there's a whole lot of that kind of culture, that kind of thing that exists in a lot of this history. And, this was just one of those things. So Slackware obviously was the distro to adopt the cholesterol-free desktop environment when you're choosing Xfce as the desktop that you want to install. Of course.
So even if they didn't coin it, they definitely perpetuated it.
It helped a whole lot because, believe it or not, Slackware was one of the most popular distributions for a very long time.
Yep.
So I sent him this one. It's been quite a while since the 96-97 time frame, but can you remember what parts of CDE were your favorite? And do you still see some of these things in current Xfce?
Yep, I remember it clearly. What I liked in CDE was the panel and drawer paradigm. I have never been a big fan of the Windows 95 start menu approach. I've always found that too convoluted every time I had to find a particular application to launch. The CDE approach seemed more logical to me. Multiple menus that could be arranged by themes. In a way, it's not unlike what we find now in many desktop environments, even the dock in Mac OS X.
And for various reasons, I use Mac a lot. And that is something that I found in the earlier versions of Xfce that I think I would have liked a whole lot more. And I saw that when we played around with CDE, and I still see whispers of it in the Mac OS menu.
But you do see it in some Xfce distributions. They'll bring along a dock to bring some of that back, and I've got to believe it's a reach back to some of the earlier days of Xfce.
Yeah, and I don't think I put it exactly right, but I when we were doing CDE, I think I agree with Olivier a whole lot in that having multiple menus at the bottom, where because in CDE like there was a printer menu, you click on the printer and then all the printer options would come up. In most modern desktops, you have to go into a printer dialog box and then deal with the preferences back behind there, and I get why you would do that, but with CDE, you could have things like, productivity and all of that stuff could be in a single menu. And you had, maybe leisure time or something like that. And you had, video and audio and all those kinds of things.
Yeah. But like your terminal applications and stuff could be all in one of the drawers as well, right?
Right. So that drawer thing, I really liked it. And it may just be because I, cut my teeth on, Windows 3.1 and some of the earlier stuff like that. But I really enjoyed that kind of thing. So I agree with him a whole lot.
Yeah, no, it's good paradigm.
Yeah. So I just had to know what his favorite Xfce component was, so I asked.
The window manager, XFWM4. That's the last component I still maintain myself nowadays.
I got a twofer on that one.
Yeah, that's really deep, because I feel that's an integral component.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it's on the screen, the window manager has a whole lot to do with that.
Definitely.
And yeah, so I got a twofer on that one. What do you still work on? And because back in the day, originally, and you can hear this in the history, Olivier was doing the whole thing. But over time, the team grew, the project grew, things grew. There were a whole lot more tooling and tools that was built around, not into. That's a very distinct point to make. It's
modular, yeah.
Right, around Xfce. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense to only work on parts of it. But that also may explain why we have more by default more of a Windows 95-ish menu baked into the Xfce panel by default. Ooh. Not my favorite. I'm a whisker menu guy because I can search, but if a little more CDE sauce, I don't think would be a bad thing. So Dan slipped a couple in here under the wire too. He asked, did you ever imagine that this project would last as long as it has?
That's a tricky question. I did not start Xfce because I wanted to start a project to last. I started Xfce because I could not find what I was looking for. Remember, at the time, GNOME did not exist, and KDE was still in its early alpha, not even released. So I guess my need for such an approach to a desktop environment was shared by a few others, which explains why the project took off eventually. Free software lasts for as long as there are people willing to spend time improving it, and people enjoying using it. I hope Xfce continues for a very long time.
The more you look around, the more you realize Xfce ain't going nowhere.
Nope.
There are way too many people, way too many distros that rely on it as the main default forward desktop. So, yeah, it's got staying power. That's for sure.
I think so. Yes. Yeah. No, those were great questions. It was great interaction, and I really enjoy and thank Olivier for responding.
Absolutely. And we got more of those questions coming up in the other pieces. If you're listening to the long form show, those are coming up. If you listen to the show in pieces, then there will be more questions sprinkled throughout. All right, Dan. Normally at this time, we dive straight into the how'd it go, but we promised earlier in the show that there were a couple more questions that we asked, and the two that we've got lined up here are, well, the three actually, I can't count, that we got lined up here are some of my favorite. I saved the best for last.
I think you did, yeah. No, these are good questions.
The one that warms my heart the most is this one. So to Olivier Fourdan, we asked, what do you believe are the reasons for Xfce's long success?
It's contributors, no doubt. And also, we might have done something right if people still enjoy using it.
Yeah.
Having people willing to contribute and keep the project alive is to me a source of great satisfaction, and I could not thank all of the Xfce devs enough.
You mean it's not just one? It's not just Olivier in a back room on a computer, CRT, giving him a sunburn as he's, frantically typing code?
It's a great answer, and it really embodies, the open source nature of things, and that's what's so great about this, right? And I love it.
I think that it really does embody humbleness.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean,
because he was heavily involved. Don't let it, don't let that fool you.
Right.
He certainly had some help along the way, right?
Yeah, and the first thing out of his mouth was the contributor.
Yeah, that's what he thought of. Yeah,
and I think it's a mark of a great leader, a good head of a project, to know that you're not doing it alone, even though you might have started it alone. You're not doing it alone now,
right?
And it's a fantastic thing to point to that as a source of success.
Absolutely.
Another one that we asked, because I just had to figure out where the mouse came from, was, did you come up with the mouse mascot? And if you heard the history, you kind of heard where it came from. But for those that are watching this in pieces, this is what he said.
Back in the late 90s, when the project started, I did not have any xfce.org domain name, nor an actual website. Everything was through FTP sites. In 1998, I was contacted by Chuck Mead, who offered to sponsor the creation of the domain xfce.org and its website. Chuck knew an artist who designed a few logos for me to choose from. That's how the mouse logo started. I do not think we, neither Chuck nor myself, ever envisioned world domination, to be honest.
Well, yeah. You look at as many distros that actually ship Xfce as the number one desktop, and well, he may not have envisioned it, but as far as Linux is concerned, he's pretty close.
It's got some deep tentacles throughout the whole Linux world, right? Yeah, absolutely.
So this came from the question was kind of coming from when you look at the Xfce FAQ. There's a reference to world domination. And so I had to follow up, right? Like mouse, world domination, that's Pinky in the Brain, right? Well, he said...
I wouldn't know, I'm afraid. But that's a nice reference.
So I got to know. There's somebody in the Xfce group somewhere is thinking about world domination and likes mice. Who is it? Who are you? And is that what it means? I have to know. What else could the mouse world domination thing be? It boggles the mind. I have to know.
I don't know. It's cute. Like I think it's great. And
it's Sean Davis, isn't it? Sean Davis is the one with the with the aspirations of world domination. Sean, if it's you, I'll be your Pinky. we can do world domination, man. All you got to do is bring a little bit of that CDE panel magic back down to the default panel, and baby, we got a stew going.
That's true. That would be pretty neat, huh?
It would be. All right. Well, we teased you long enough about all those questions. That's all we got.
We thought we'd run through a quick list of what we think are like some of the most prominent, I guess.
So
Xfce
world domination. Maybe not.
Maybe not. But like, so yeah, you got Ubuntu, obviously, lead right there, right? I mean, that's only Xfce. But like MX Linux has got to rank towards the top. I mean, it's the top at the distro watch list. I mean, for whatever that's worth. But it really is popular, right?
Yeah, we said the Xfce word, and Dolphin was right there.
And so,
but for good reason.
It is
Xfce
good reason.
Is nice.
It's
solid.
Good.
It's predictable. It's a lot like Linux Mint,
mm-hmm.
who also
they do.
champions an Xfce flavor, and not in a we also have Xfce, but in a we have 3,
right?
And Xfce is one of them.
Absolutely. But like even some of the Arch ones that there are, we'll say like Arco and Endeavor, those.
Endeavor,
right,
yeah,
there it is. And so with those, while you can probably choose a different desktop environment or a tiling window manager, or some other window manager, whatever in the installation process, oftentimes what you're getting on the live disk is Xfce because it's very predictable and people know how to work with it. So it's crazy popular there.
It's lightweight.
Yeah, so it runs off the live disk. Mm-hmm.
You only grab the bits of Xfce that you need to be able to run a full-fledged desktop. You don't have, the frills and crazy features that you would have on an installed version of it.
Yeah.
But it's a testament to why Xfce continues to exist. Yes, the contributors are a huge part of that, a huge, outstripped part of that. But the fact that people need a lightweight desktop is another facet to that. And Xfce seems to me... Did we mention Manjaro? Because Manjaro's in that list too.
We didn't mention Manjaro yet. No, that's one of them. Yeah,
But it seems to me that there's a big need for a lightweight desktop, and Xfce is the first name that comes to anybody's mind when you say that. There are other good lightweight options. I see you, Dan. I see you. But
yes.
But I don't know why, but for some reason, people tend to gravitate toward GTK-based desktops more
and that's
often.
Fair. I mean, theming is a thing, and the look and feel, and so you don't lose that GTK stuff. Like, and if that's what you're used to, fair for you. It may not be the lightest, but it is one of the lightest. It's somewhere in between. The absolute lightest.
Are them's fighting words?
Perhaps. It's one of the lightest for sure. It's on the bottom end of the scale, no matter what, right? And so, if that's what you're used to, I think it's great. It's a great option because, and just to round it out, it exists in OpenSUSE, Debian, Fedora. Like everybody has an option to get Xfce installed on your system. I don't know if there's any of the big distributions that leave it out. So
yeah, Slackware and Debian paved the way. Slackware brought it in 8.1 in the history, and I guess I just forgot to put it in there. But Debian 4, Debian Etch, is the version of Debian where Xfce first, and it was, I believe, 4. Don't quote me on that. I actually don't remember.
Yes, for something.
Yeah. Debian brought it in its 4 series. I mean, a full major version after they abandoned the Xforms non-proprietary or non-free.
Yeah, it took a little while. Yeah,
toolkit. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean,
that's
Slackware
that's everywhere. What else is there, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially at the time. Yeah.